Technically, I was discharged about 1 a.m., but they let me stay until the morning. However, if I'm discharged, when are you going to take this IV out my arm? Hi Dawnies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe because you're helping this disabled by watching my fables so I don't have to beg you. Now I know you see that title, and no, it's not a typo. Yes, this is a P.S.A. announcement and a story time to say no more Prils. So let me explain. As you know, a couple of videos ago, I had, my lip was swollen, and I thought it was allergic reaction to some cough medicine because I had been coughing and hacking for I don't know how long. And even in the back of my mind, the coughing and hacking reminded me of being allergic to some medication in the past. And we're going to get into these medications in a minute, but let me tell my story. That's why you clicked on the video, right? You know this is a StoryTime channel, so get your snack. You know what? I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds to get your snacks because it's going to be a minute. Okay, you got your popcorn, you got your you got your popcorn, you got your candy, your snacks, whatever you eat to just sit back and relax and enjoy this P.S.A. announcement. Now, as I was saying, I was coughing and hacking and I had taken some medication and I thought I had a allergic reaction to some homeopathic medicine. And then I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't take that if it's going to swell up my lip and look like somebody busted me in my lip. So I would just go to sleep with cough drops. It wasn't until the following week, it took a whole week for it to get the same reaction. This time, my lip, I woke up with my lips swollen on this side. But then as the day progressed, the swelling moved to my upper lip, which I will display the pictures either over my face or the picture will be right here of how my lip looked. So like I said, as the day progressed, I was going to a different appointment. But as my lip was getting bigger and bigger and it moved from the bottom lip to the top lip and then got bigger and bigger this way, I was like, yeah, we won't be going to that appointment. Let me go ahead and get to the ER. While I was on the bus and people were asking me if there was any kind of blood pressure medication that I was taking, and I was like, that's an odd question to ask. Because of my lip was swollen. I mean, it was just kept growing and growing and growing, and it was to the point where I could barely talk, which wasn't cool. But I just thought that was strange. Like, why do they keep asking me about blood pressure medication? It was weird that that was something people asked. Anyway, I got to the hospital, but before I went to the ER, I turned in some paperwork at the financial office. So I turned in some paper at the financial office from a previous ER stay I had. And I was telling the receptionist what was going on. And she was saying that, oh yeah, that happened to her. And she asked me if I was taking any blood pressure medication like losartan. And I'm like, losartan? They told me they took that off the market because it causes cancer. Let me just talk about losartan for a minute. So I was telling other people about this story, and it turns out that I know 2 other people who are still taking losartan, and I'm like, why doesn't your doctor know this causes cancer, and why are they still prescribing it to you? And I won't say what color we are. Is that another form of extermination? I don't know. I won't get on my tin hat. Let's get back to the P.S.A. We'll talk about the conspiracy another time. So I finished my business at the financial office and then I went to the ER. And while I was in the ER, I was still coughing and hacking. and my lip was even more bigger. They just took my vitals at that time, and then I went back into the waiting room. So I had called my housemates to let them know I'm in the hospital and what's going on with me. And one of my housemates was like, oh yeah, that happened to my mom. And at that time she said she thought her mom had a stroke because of the medication. And she did ask if I was taking any blood pressure medication. How come everybody knows about this blood pressure medication but me? The people on the bus, the receptionist at the finance office, and now my housemate. How come everybody knew about blood pressure medication but the person that's taking it? Anyway, while I was on the phone with the housemate, they called me back in to the nurse's station. This time I'm talking to the triage nurse. And there were two triage nurses in there. One called herself being funny and asked if I was injected with Botox. Now, you know, I couldn't just let that go. I was like, you know I don't need Botox. Anyhow, they asked what medication I was on, and the other ER nurse, triage nurse, who had some sense was like, oh yeah, that particular medication, and I will get into all these medications in just a minute. But it was stated that that particular medication can affect people in a short time, or they can be taking it for 15 years and then get affected. I only have been taking the medication since January. So I didn't even know that this was a problem. They don't tell you this when they give you this medication at the free clinic. They must have buy-in with the pharmacies to be able to give this stuff out for free. Yet again, my tin hat is tingling. Is it a conspiracy? So basically, what it boils down to is that ACE inhibitors can cause, I don't know how to pronounce this word, so let's go to Google and listen to how this word is pronounced. Angioedema. So he informed me that it can cause, you know, swelling to the face, to your lips. Your throat can swell up to the point where you can't breathe and you can die. Good thing I went to the ER right away, right? And because this was a life-threatening situation, they took me and found me a bed right away. So they gave me an IV with a mixture of Benadryl, P.S.A, and something else. I'll put it across the screen because I don't know how to pronounce these words. Anyway, by the time I got to the room, it was like 7 p.m. So I called my housemate back and told them what was going on. The other housemate was like, oh, well, see if they can find a social worker to get your ride home because it might be the middle of the night and you don't want to take the bus in the middle of the night. What was I thinking? So I made the mistake of telling the nurse that's what I wanted. Can we find a social worker to get me an Uber or a taxi to bring me home? Anyway, they said the social workers wouldn't be there until the morning and just let the IV solution take effect and see if we can get the swelling to go down on my lips. I think I finally fell asleep at probably about 11 p.m. But you know, you can't get any sleep in the hospital. They wake you up to take your vitals or whatever. And I think I faintly heard that the computers went down. So I think about 1 a.m. in the morning, a nurse came in and took some more vitals and she said, oh, well, you are discharged, but we're just waiting until the morning so we can get a social worker for you. And I was like, well, honestly, I can just wait till daylight and take the bus back to where I need to go because I wouldn't need a social worker at that time. It'll be daylight and I can just go ahead. So she told me to get some more rest and she'll be back to check on me. Technically, I was discharged about 1 a.m., but they let me stay until the morning. However, if I'm discharged, when are you going to take this IV out my arm? So the nurse said that she would be back. It wasn't until about 6 o'clock that she came back and finally took the IV out my arm. But then she was trying to coerce me to stay, and to wait on the social worker, and I'm like, but it's daylight now, so I can go. I said, I'm discharged, right? So therefore I can go. I don't understand why I need to stay. So the nurse kept iterating that I should wait on the social worker and get a ride. And I was like, but I don't need the social worker for a ride. If it's daylight and I can get on the bus now. And she was, I don't know, but I basically broke it down to her like this. I said, okay, the social workers get here about 7. Then they have to do their round, so that'll take another hour. So that'll be about 8 when they get to see me. Then once I tell them what I want, then it's going to probably take them another hour before I get a ride, when I could be back in my place of residence. So I'm saying that's 3 hours when I could just get on the transit and be home in like an hour and a half compared to the 3 hours waiting around. And then it'd probably take another hour to get to my place of residence. I don't have time for that. So finally the nurse gave up trying to coerce me to stay. And I gathered up all my belongings and I left the hospital, and I saw the bus coming. So I'm trying to rush as best as I can, even though, you know, a girl can't run anymore. And the bus driver had the nerve to say, well, what you hurrying for? I said, they're trying to keep me. I'm escaping. But basically I told the nurse what happened with all the reaction to my face or whatever. And she was telling me a similar thing happened to her family members. So let's get into what I mean by no more Prils. So as you know, I mentioned the ACE inhibitors, and they just so happen to all end in Pril because I looked them up. Basically what made me look them up, I had texted one of my friends. I was like, this is what happened to me. And she texts back, and I'm just going to put the text here, but I'm just going to say it by memory, that she was like, a similar thing happened to her. No African American should be taking any ACE inhibitors. She was so itchy and her throat was up and she was coughing that she wanted to use a porcupine to scratch with. Probably sounds better from the text, but anyway, this is a video. You know, I'm going off the cuff of my memory. I probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, here are the Prils. Benazepril, which I was already allergic to, which when I said earlier that the cough reminded me of another medication I was allergic to, I haven't taken Benazepril in 4 years, so I'm allergic to Benazepril. And then the next one has listed here Captopril, Enlapril, Fosinopril, Moxapril, Preninopril, Quinopril, Rampril, Trandolpril. And what I was recently taking was Lisinopril. Turns out a lot of people are taking Lisinopril. Like I said, do with this information you want. This is a PSA announcement that nobody should take anything that ends in Pril. No ACE inhibitors if we would just want to classify the medication. No more Prils. Anyway, the moral of the story is basically I need to lose weight, get this fat off of me so I don't have to take any blood pressure medication, and I don't have to worry about the Prils. So what have we learned today, class? No more Prils! This has been Dawnie to the Max. Thank you for watching. Please check out my other stuff on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope I'm pointing the right way. And Dawnies, remember to toast to life because it always makes for a great story. And I'll see you next week, hopefully, if I don't end up in the ER again. Bye.